All right, it's getting cooler here in Osaka. Cooler. What is this? Just hanging around just at 1 degree above the zero mark in the evenings here. Quite chilly. And the funny thing about Osaka is that it actually it feels colder than my hometown in Switzerland in winter, even though it's many degrees warmer. It's just the wind chill factor, the wind that blows down the streets here. Get the tall buildings, you get those canyons happening, and this builds up winds. And I don't know, it's the air is not as dry as it is in cloisters, so it's a difference. When you go to cloisters, it can be -10, and you're like, it's not pretty nice out actually. Here it gets 1, 2, 3 degrees Celsius, and you're like, ooh, it's so cold. So what do we got to beat off the cold? Aha, chowder. And this one is a new chowder I came up with. You may have had my corn chowder is on corn and bacon, I believe. I can't remember the name anymore. Corn and bacon chowder, which is also on the channel. Actually, I'll put a link to that down below, or maybe even link it in at the end of the video. I have the pop-up screen that comes up at the end of another video. I'll put it in there so you can go check that out too, because that's a really delicious chowder. This one today is barbecue pork and cheddar chowder, and it's quite creamy and delicious. A lot of cheddar cheese in there, pieces of barbecued pork, corn, mushrooms. That'll warm you up in winter. Now it's gonna get rid of the Osaka chill, or wherever you are. If it's cold, you definitely want to get some of this. If it's warm, if you're in Florida, well, go for it anyways, because it's delicious. All right, let's go in the kitchen and make some. For this chowder, we don't have not that many ingredients, just good, simple, hearty ingredients here. What we've got across the front? Well, I've got here a 1/4 cup of flour, a 1/4 cup of butter. I've got a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then here, an onion, chopped. So it's one onion, that's a good sized onion, chopped up. This here, okay, this is barbecue pork. We call it yakibuta, and you can get all different types of barbecued pork from one of my local stores here. And basically it's just it's barbecued pork. What can I say about it? It's not really, it's not ham, but it could be a little bit like ham. Just a little different consistency, but it's a good solid meat to go into this soup. Like look at that, it's like the barbecued edge to it all. I just love this. All right, and that is 8 ounces or 230 grams of barbecued pork, and I've just chopped it roughly into pieces about that size. Here, mushrooms. So these are anywhere between about 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, whatever, anywhere around there, whatever number of mushrooms you get. These are the usual champignon mushrooms that I like to use. And as you can see, there's even a little bit of growing medium still on there. So I got on there. I never wash mushrooms. I just brush them off. Just brush the growing medium off. They're grown in a clean area, so really brush the medium off them. They will cook better if you don't wash them. They will fry up nicer. So that's about, I think today was about 19 mushrooms there. And I've cut them somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch, kind of in between there somewhere. And so that's about 4 or 5 millimeters. All right, over here, cheddar cheese. That is again 8 ounces. And that is 230 grams of cheddar cheese grated. Over here, 1 can of corn, kernel corn, and I've just rinsed and drained the can. All right, then across the back here, the liquids. Well, this is 3 cups of chicken stock, and then I've got 3/4 cup of heavy cream. It's like about 35% cream with some corn on there now, and that's going to go in last. So first thing I want to do, I want to get the butter into here. I'm going to get this going on medium heat. And it's going to warm up soon, so let's get that butter in there. All right, what I want to do now is I want to get that butter melting. So I'm just going to speed it up by stirring it around a little bit in there. All right, that butter is melted, so in goes the onion. Get all that in there. And I'm going to add the salt and pepper. So pepper, salt. And then I'm going to cook this, stirring occasionally, for about 5 to 8 minutes. All I want to do is soften up the onions a bit. So see you back here, 5 to 8 minutes. All right, it's been just a little over 5 minutes, about 6 minutes, and you got just a little browning happening on the bottom. Let's see in there. The onions are getting nice and soft and smelling great with all that butter. So what I want to do now is I want to add the mushrooms. I want to add in the pork. And I'm going to add in that corn. All right, what I'm going to do now is just going to put that up just a little bit to a medium high and stir everything around in here. I just want to brown things up just a little bit, just a little touch, adds a bit more flavor. So we'll get some of those mushrooms browning up just a little bit. That's why we didn't want to wash them, because if we wash them, they don't brown. Too much liquid. The mushrooms already have a bit of liquid in them as it is. You don't want more liquid, they'll soak it up, and then they don't brown nicely. So you just brush them off, get them in here. We can get the mushrooms browning a little bit. We can get that corn browning a little bit, which just gives it a little bit of a caramelly flavor. So about 5 minutes from now, we'll be ready. We'll see you then. All right, that's been cooking for 5 minutes, medium high. Good smell coming out of there. I can see the mushrooms are getting just that little bit of browning, which is just right. It's just adds some flavor. What I want to do now is I want to add in the flour. So I'm going to get that in there and spread that around. And I want to cook this just for about another minute, just enough to get the rawness out of the flour without burning it. So just stirring it through there, getting it all into everywhere. And in about a minute, we'll be ready to add in the chicken stock. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of chicken stock. See, some of that flour is going to start sticking to the bottom of the pot, unless you have a really non-stick pot. What I want to do now is just add a little bit of this and deglaze that bottom. Just go around, scraping off the bottom. As that liquid hits it, it's going to loosen up, and then you get that off. And that's all important stuff to lots of flavor and thickening of our soup. Add a bit more in there. Okay. And just keep stirring around. Just loosening up anything on the bottom. And you can see there, it's really good. It's nice and thick. It's going to be a great chowder. All right, well, we don't want it that thick yet, so let's add in the rest of the chicken stock. Oh, any leftover bits and pieces here. In you go. Now, we don't need to cook this long because everything in here is cooked. The barbecue pork, of course, has been cooked. The mushrooms don't need much. Nothing in here needs much cooking. What I want to do now, what I want to do now is just want to bring this up until it starts boiling, or simmering at least. And then we're going to we're going to get that cheese in there, and then we're going to get that cream in there, and it's going to be ready to go. So it's a pretty easy dish to make. It doesn't take that much time. All right, see you back here in a couple minutes. All right, that's coming to a boil now, so I'm going to just ease back on the heat a little bit. bring it down to a medium or just a little bit under medium. Because what I'm going to do now, first of all, I'll just give it a little stir, and then stir in the cheese. All right, so we got the cheddar cheese in there. Now I'm just stirring it in here until it melts. All right, the cheese basically melted. So now in goes the cream. Oh, that is looking great. Let's see. You can see that. Just look at it. Just beautiful. All right, all we're gonna do now, we've knocked the heat down a little bit. You know, we added a whole bunch of cheese. We added cold cream in there. So just gonna stir it around a bit and just wait for it to come back up to heat again. And we got it on a medium towards a medium low, and just probably take a minute or so and come back up. And just before it starts to simmer, we're ready. Soup's on. All right, that's coming up to heat. Just got a beautiful creaminess to it. All right. Let's serve some up. So a nice little chowder bowl there. And throw that in there. There we go. Beautiful chowder with barbecue pork, mushrooms, cheddar cheese, onions, corn, all kinds of goodness in there. And nice, thick and creamy, great for winter weather. All right, if you like this recipe, there's a lot more here on Kuma's Kitchen's channel, so stick around and go check them all out. They're all original Kevin Riley Kuma's Kitchen recipes. Also, make sure you subscribe because there's a new original recipe coming out every Monday. And if you're not yet a patron of Kuma's Kitchen, well, please consider becoming one, because not only do you help support the creation of more and more of these recipes, but also you get all the other cool stuff that the patrons are getting right now. All right, now go make this heartwarming soup, or stomach warming, or whatever, just warming soup, and or chowder, and make cooking fun again with Kuma's Kitchen.